do this. Picking back up on relational healing and accountability. Lesson 2 is rebuilding trust through consistency. We talked about that earlier on, about the importance of how in the beginning it's intensity, and then over time it transitions into consistency. The objective of the lesson is to help students understand how trust is rebuilt through consistent behavior rather than emotional assurance. You'll learn why trust is restored slowly through repeated alignment between words and actions. Whenever I went to rehab, a fellow that ran that rehab, something he always said was, and I can't remember exactly how he said it, I wish I could, but it was basically like, if you say it, do it. There's something like, if you say it, do it. If you swear it, fight for it. And if you sign your name to it, be willing to die for it. Like, but it was the basis of what it was that be a person of your word. That's like extremely important in rebuilding relationships. Whenever you start to rebuild relationships that you've messed up in the past, one of the most important things that you can do is when you tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. Period. Or just don't say. A lot of times we become yes people, yes man, yes people in our addiction, because it's kind of a survival tactic to keep people, helping us or supporting us or whatever. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Just agreeing, and you gotta leave that behind you, and moving forward. Just you got to become a person of your word. Don't be a people pleaser in word. Don't feel like you got to say something to tell somebody or impress somebody or whatever if you don't have the intentions of doing it. Just don't say it. But if you're going to tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. And then be consistent with that over time. That is probably one of the most significant aspects of rebuilding your relationships, is becoming a person of your word, and when you say it, do it. You're going to focus on consistency and stabilizing force in damaging relationships. By the end of this lesson, students will understand how faithful patterns rebuild relational confidence over time. Trust is not restored through promises, explanations, or pressure for forgiveness. It's rebuilt when consistent behavior repeatedly confirms safety and reliability. When you repeatedly do what you say you're going to do, when your behavior is repeatedly correct, people that you're trying to rebuild relationships with begin to feel safe and in what you're saying and doing, and they begin to feel like you're reliable. Inconsistency keeps relationships unstable even when intentions are sincere. Guys, my daddy used to tell me, and I'm sure other people have said this, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to failure is paved with good intentions. The road to incompletion, procrastination, all of it is built on good intentions. So don't allow your good intentions to put you in a situation where you're unable to consistently fulfill those intentions. We can want to be better people for the person that we're trying to rebuild relationships with, and we can want to do things that are going to make them happy, and do things that are going to want to please them, and do things that we know that they want us to do. But if it's something that's going to be hard, or that's going to be a stretch, or that we may not be able to complete, just don't say it. Don't say, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Because even if you have the best of intentions to do it, if you don't get it done, and that happens consistently, you're going to fail these people, and it's going to take you forever to rebuild those relationships. So start small. Start small and say, yeah, I'm going to do my best to do this. I'm going to do my best to do that. Or learn to say, look, man, I'm telling you guys, I decided to do this myself and to just try it. And then once I started working with addicts 7 years ago, I began to tell the men that lived in our sober living houses, I began to tell them to do this. And I've never seen it fail yet. And that's just be honest. When you go to apply for a job and you got a criminal history, or you got to, just tell them, look, man, I was an addict. I messed my life up, and I'm really just trying to get it back on track, and I'm trying to do the right thing. Can you please give me a chance? Rather than say, oh, no, yeah, man, I'm not, and just hope they don't figure it out. Just be honest. Just be straight up. And in these relationships that you're trying to rebuild, just tell them, look, I'm really trying to rebuild my life right now, and I got a lot of stuff to do. I got a lot of ground to cover, you know. I got to try to do this, get a job. I got to try to find me somewhere to live. I got a lot going on, but I will do my best to try to do that for you, but I can't make any promises. And just be honest. Rather than saying, oh yeah, man, yeah, I'll do that. And then it's overwhelming because you can't get it finished. And people that you're trying to build relationships with, they become stagnant because they're unable to trust you, because you're still not in their mind performing what you say you're going to perform. So just be honest, just be transparent, be straight. There's nothing wrong with telling people. There's nothing wrong with admitting to people that you were broken. There's nothing wrong with telling people, look, I went down some paths in my life that led me to some bad places, and I made some bad choices, and it really crippled me for a while, but I got myself back together, and I'm really trying to rebuild my life, and just be honest, you know. Let's dive deeper. Trust grows through repeated consistency. Trust is formed when behavior becomes predictable and dependable. One-time efforts do not outweigh long-term patterns. Consistency communicates safety more clearly than explanation. Repeated alignment builds confidence gradually. Biologically, predictability calms threat detection systems in the brain. The nervous system relaxes when patterns remain stable. This allows openness rather than vigilance. Consistency supports relational regulation. Spiritually, faithfulness is demonstrated through steady obedience. Steady, consistent obedience spiritually. Just finding your place, finding where you fall into God's will in your life, and just consistently maintaining that every day is going to bring you to a much better place spiritually than having bursts of hyper obedience followed by relaxed obedience, followed by hyper obedience, and just back and forth, you know. Consistency reflects integrity and truth, and this builds trust within the community. What's the connection? Biology shows stability reduces fear. Scripture shows faithfulness builds trust. Together they explain why consistency restores confidence. Trust grows where patterns remain aligned. Luke 16:10 says, "He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much." That's a statement of fact. It's not a necessarily like a prophetic scripture. It is a factual scripture that is saying this is the case. It's saying if you can trust someone to be faithful in the small things, they'll likely be faithful in the big things too. And if you can't trust them in the small things, then the same. When behavior fluctuates, trust remains fragile. Even positive actions lose impact if followed by inconsistency. Unpredictability keeps others guarded. Mistrust is reinforced by instability. Biologically, inconsistency keeps stress responses active. The brain remains alert for potential threat. This limits relaxation and openness. Trust cannot form under constant uncertainty. Spiritually, inconsistency undermines credibility. Scripture warns against double-mindedness. Mixed signals confuse relationship expectations. Stability reflects sincerity. The connection is that biology shows uncertainty sustains vigilance. Scripture shows double-mindedness weakens trust. Together, they reveal why inconsistency delays healing. Trust requires steadiness. James 1:8 says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Consistency rebuilds credibility, not control. Attempts to control perception damage trust further. Consistency allows others to draw conclusions naturally. Credibility is earned through steady conduct. Control prevents authentic trust. That first line there, attempts to control perception damage trust further, while consistency allows others to draw conclusions naturally. What that's talking about is when you are attempting to force or control what somebody thinks about you by manipulation, by doing everything right when you're in front of them, or making a few promises and doing them, or just finding a way to be crafty about how you say and do things, to get them to try to force or control the way they see you, it's going to be damaging. It's going to cause further trust issues, because the first time that don't go right, they're going to really not trust you. Or they're going to not trust you even more than they didn't in the beginning. Whereas just being consistent every day allows them to draw their own conclusions of whether you can be trusted or not. Credibility is earned through steady conduct. Control prevents authentic trust. Biologically, control increases resistance and stress. Autonomy supports safety and openness. Forced reassurance triggers defensiveness. Consistency allows trust to develop freely. Spiritually, trust cannot be demanded or manipulated. Scripture emphasizes humility and patience. Control contradicts love, while consistency honors free response. The biological and spiritual connection is that biology shows autonomy reduces resistance, and Scripture shows patience produces fruit. Together, they explain why control delays trust and consistency invites restoration. 1 Corinthians 13:4 says, charity suffereth long. Love suffereth long and is kind. It envieth not. It vaunteth not itself. It's not puffed up. In the Scripture, in that place there, charity represents love. Love is long-suffering. It's kind. It doesn't envy others. It doesn't build itself up. It's not puffed up. It's just love. It's sincere love. Trust is restored through time and alignment. Trust returns when words and actions remain aligned over time. That is what trust is. I told y'all the other day about how we teach Collins that whenever we meet somebody new in our life, we are going to do what's called giving them the benefit of the doubt. Or basically what we're going to do is we're going to extend them trust that they have not earned, and we're going to leave it that way until they give us a reason to no longer trust them. But whenever you have relationships in your life that for whatever reason you've damaged, you've given them a reason to no longer trust you. So now you're going back to them and you're having to do something to get that trust back. And that is where you have to earn their trust. And you earn someone's trust by your words and your actions aligning. When I say I'm going to do something, I go and do it. And I'm telling you guys, I know that I have learned over the last 7 years that I'm just a different kind of person. I'm not any better than anybody else. I'm not saying it like that. I had a different idea of that in my early recovery, my first few years out here in the real world. And so I really did go to the extreme with that. And I realized that might be a little bit hard for a lot of people to do, but when I tell you I went to the extreme with that, like if I told, and most of it was in reference to like doing work for people. If I told somebody, yeah, I'm gonna get that job done, man, you can ask Nicole. I put myself in the hospital trying. I was not gonna quit until I did what I told them I was gonna do. And sometimes I'm gonna tell you the truth. Many times, because especially in the beginning with my landscaping business, before I really had learned, how much work was involved in certain things and how much to charge people for certain things. Before I had learned all that, man, there was many times where I way underpriced something for someone because I didn't have the experience. I didn't know how much work was going to be involved. And I got halfway through it and everything that I was going to make on the job was gone. And the rest of the job, I had to finish that job out of my pocket. It cost me money and it was way more work than I thought. I killed myself because I didn't have the equipment that I needed or whatever. I'm talking about but because I had told them I would do it, and I had told them they could only had to pay this amount, I had to live up to it. And I'm telling you, I made a lot of mistakes early on, a lot of them, that I had to fulfill promises that I made that cost me significantly. But my point is I'm not trying to brag on myself, but my point is that's the extent you got to go to. When you go back into your hometown where nobody trusts you anymore, that's what you got to be willing to do. Either don't say you'll do something, or whenever you tell someone you'll do it, be willing to finish it out no matter what it costs you. Because it wasn't very long until these people are telling somebody else, man, he does a good job. If he says he's going to do it, he does it. They start trusting you. They believe in you. They depend on you because you said you would do it. And especially in those times where they see that you carry out your word, even whenever it's not going, even when it's killing you, or even when it's costing you money, and they realize that. And they see that you're committed to it. That is so important, that our words and our actions remain aligned over time. That's where trust is rebuilt. Time allows patterns to speak louder than intent. Alignment reduces suspicion. Healing requires patience. Biologically, time allows threat systems to deactivate gradually. Repeated safe experiences rewire expectations. You are literally rewiring the thinking or the brain of the person you're trying to build a relationship with. Because of your past, their brain is wired to be defensive with you. Their brain is wired to have a guard up with you, to make sure that you're not allowed to get too close and do something like you used to do and mess things up. Their brain is wired that way. So your consistency in your words and actions matching is literally rewiring their brain over time to where they begin to lower that guard and realize, okay, this person can be trusted. I can depend on this person, or this person's word is good with me now. Repeated safe experiences rewire expectation. Body learns security through exposure. Consistency accelerates regulation. Spiritually, patience allows God to work through faithfulness. Scripture values endurance over immediacy. Trust reflects sustained obedience, and excuse me. And time reveals sincerity. Thank y'all. I had allergies. Biological and spiritual connection. Biology shows repetition reshapes expectation. Scripture shows endurance produces maturity. Together they explain why trust rebuilds slowly and time and alignment heal relationships. Galatians 6:9 says, "And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." That scripture right there is basically sums up what we were just talking about. When you're going out there and you're rebuilding relationships and you're trying to do well by others that you love and that you care about, don't get weary. Just keep on doing it. Keep on moving forward. And if you don't quit, if you faint not, that in that scripture right there, that doesn't necessarily mean pass out. That means if you don't quit and give up, you'll reap the benefits of that work that you're putting into that rebuilding that relationship. Application to beliefs. Belief about trust influence expectations in relationships. When trust is expected to return quickly, frustration increases. Understanding consistency reframes patience as progress. Right belief sustains hope without pressure. That right there is a fancy way of writing what I believed and what I live by, and what I've told people for so long. But it is so imperative, guys, that while you're here, you take this time to convince yourself, truly convince yourself that when you leave here, those people that don't trust you are still going to not trust you, and it could take a long time for them to trust you. And convince yourself that they do not owe you 1 second of advanced trust when you get out of here. Because what happens with so many people in recovery, for whatever reason, they think these folks, and it's understandable, but they think my family, my friends, these other people in my life, all they wanted for me was for me to get sober, and here I am. I done did it. I went to rehab. I got sober, and I'm clean, and they should be proud of me, and they should whatever, and they should do this, they should do that, and then they get out there in that real world, and it hits them in their face that those people aren't doing it the way they thought they should do it because I went and got sober, and guess what? They give up and quit. Because they're running into an expectation that was unrealistic. The best thing that you're better off expecting and planning for the worst and having it go better than you are thinking everything's going to go great for me when I get out of here because I went to rehab or whatever, I got sober, and then it go bad. Because I promise you, if you expect the best and it goes worse, you'll quit. You'll give up and you'll be right back where you started. So go about it in a way that you understand that nobody owes you, or nobody's gonna advance you anything. You're gonna have to earn it and be prepared for that. Okay. Practical application: focus on behaving consistently rather than seeking reassurance. Allow time and patterns to rebuild credibility. Resist the urge to force trust through explanation and practice faithfulness daily.